amazing how the scriptures say that it is for freedom we've been set free, right? It is for freedom that you've been set free, and yet those of us who surrender to Christ, we have been set free, but we still live as slaves. We still live as slaves to our broken choices, to our past, to people around us. And somehow we walk around, it's almost as if we walk around with a ball and chain. You know, it's like we're not running, we're just dragging with us our heavy baggages, our heavy balls and chains. And for me, a stark contrast between us as adults, our kids, our little children. Some of our kids don't seem to have any inhibitions, right? There's no constraint or restraint on their part. And I look at them and I go, wow, man, like if only adults were just a tiny bit like that. Can you imagine? I mean, the other day, my son, my 4-year-old son says to me on the dinner table, hey, hot lips. And it's like, what is going on? I thought that is only reserved for my wife, right? But here's context, right? So the context is, I normally eat chilies with my meal, these red chilies, right? And depending on the meals, either half or full, I eat the whole chili. But this one particular meal, it didn't go down well, and my mouth was burning to no degree. So I went into the fridge, grabbed whatever was cold in it, I brought it out, and I sat there and I just rubbed this cold bottle on my lips. Oh my goodness, it was so hot. And so in that context, that my son says to me, hot lips, because he can see that my lips are hot, right? But he has no inhibitions, you know? And so, I mean, one of the biggest differences between kids and adults is that their consciousness is much bigger than ours, right? So what I mean by that is, to give you an example, there's a difference between a spotlight and a lantern, right? So your consciousness and my consciousness is like a spotlight. You know why? Because the older we get, the more we are told or meant to focus on tasks, right? We're focused on doing things, we're focused on getting things done, right? So our consciousness is like a spotlight, but their consciousness is like a lantern, right? So in other words, it's always open. They're always absorbing everything around them, and they've not yet learned what it means to be betrayed. They've not yet learned what it means for someone to walk away from them. They've not yet learned what it means, to lose a job. They've not yet learned what it means to be divorced. They've not yet learned any of these things, and so they're still very open, and that's why they have no inhibitions. Whereas we do, we are full of inhibitions, and depending on your life story, you extend those inhibitions so far that it actually gets to a point where you can't even walk free as a Christian, right? You have inhibitions in terms of your relationship with God. You have inhibitions in terms of your relationship with other Christians. Like you don't actually really believe that they are for you. You don't actually believe that they are here because they love you and want to serve you. You actually think that they are like anyone else. They are suspicious of you, or they want something out of you. And so we all grow up and our inhibitions become larger and larger and larger. And I think when Paul speaks to us about freedom in Galatians, he begins to tap into, I think, one specific inhibition that he wants us to look at. And so we are in Galatians 5 today. Galatians 5 from verse 13. And as we carry on in this series, and he says this, he says, for you have been called to live in freedom, my brothers and sisters, but don't use your freedom to satisfy your sinful nature. Instead, use your freedom to serve one another in love. Let me read that again. Don't use your freedom to satisfy your sinful nature. Instead, use your freedom to serve one another in love. So in other words, true freedom exists in relationship with others. Right? So when we talk about freedom in the West, it's in relationship to myself. It's an individual kind of freedom. But you know why that is a problem? That's a problem because the way we've been created, we're created for connection. We're created to be with one another. Right? That's why God said it's not good for man to be alone. So we're created for connection. That means our freedom is linked to our connection and vice versa as well. But when we say, no, freedom is about me, that's when we get into problems. That's when we get into issues. And that's why you're going to keep gratifying yourself and satisfying yourself and missing out on the joy and the freedom of loving others. And I think a good example of this is the story of Cain and Abel in Genesis chapter 4. It's not up on your text, but I'm just going to read a section of when God actually confronts Cain, because Cain and Abel, they both grow up and they both give something to God as an offering. Abel gives the best of his lamb, right? The best of his cattle, whereas Cain just gives some of his fruits, right? Some of the stuff, the crops that he's grown. And so there's a stark contrast between Abel realizing how incredible and valuable and amazing God is, and he gives him his best, right? Which is a great choice, versus the choice of Cain, which is, yeah, okay, I'm just going to give to God. And so when God accepts Abel's sacrifice, because he gives us his best, but he does not accept Cain's sacrifice, Cain now does what? He's upset, right? He throws a tantrum. And this is what it says in Galatians 4, from verse 6. God spoke to Cain, why this tantrum? Why the sulking? If you do well, won't you be accepted? And if you don't do well, what? Here's the thing. Sin is lying, waiting for you, ready to pounce. It's out to get you, and you've got to master it. Right? So he's saying, you've got a choice here, buddy. Right? You've got a choice. If you choose well, then guess what? Sin's not going to pounce on you. But if you choose badly, if you keep making those bad choices, it's going to overpower you. And what happens is you're going to end up doing what Paul says here, you're going to end up gratifying and satisfying your sinful nature, because now it's got you, right? And it just degenerates from one thing to the next. So I want to say this morning, I want to link our sin to our pain, that your pain is the greatest inhibitor to your freedom, right? You might say, no, it's this person or that person, but whatever's happened to you in the past, it's caused you an amount of pain, right? Whatever that pain is. And I want to define pain by this. Pain is merely just a separation or disconnect from something that is valuable and important to you. Right? Something that is meant to be yours and you've been separated from it. That's what pain is. And so if you don't deal with the root cause of your pain, you will keep on making these bad choices in order to just numb your pain. Right? Instead of healing it, there's a difference. And then you just spiral from there. And God is so gracious that he gives Cain a choice. It's like, now sin has seen that you made a bad choice. But if you carry on making these bad choices, it's going to pounce on you. But you've got to learn to master it. And you know the thing with our pain, guys, it often goes unseen. Right? Especially in the helter-skelter of life at Joburg, it goes unseen. You don't see it until a stressful situation arises. It goes unseen until you're somehow provoked. So this happened to me on Thursday, a few days ago. And I was busy working on my laptop just before I went to connect with Daryl, and I just had this thing of, I need to check my bank account, right? Because it was the 30th, so it's the end of the month. You've got to make sure that there's enough, for all the debit orders and stuff. So I go into my bank account, and I see that our home loan has been double debited this month, right? And so you can imagine, so I'm like, okay, it's going to be okay. You just got to phone them. It's going to be fine. I didn't panic, right? So I'm talking to this person on the phone at the bank, and I say, this is what's happened. Please sort it out. And then she says to me, there's probably a system error. There's nothing we can do about it now until it reflects on our side. And then once it reflects, then we can do the refund. And by the way, tomorrow's a public holiday, and then you got the weekend, and so it's only going to happen next week. So now I'm starting to get a little bit anxious. I'm like, but it's a problem. It's your error, not mine. You caused the problem, so please fix it, because I'm helpless. And I think I've trained my brain to not attack the person, but rather talk about the problem. But the more I was talking, it's almost like she got so fed up with me that she just kept quiet. Literally, I'm talking and I'm trying to get a response and she's just quiet. That's when something shifted in me. And that's when I really started to lose it. And then for the rest of that day, I realized that what she did to me is just a reminder of so many years where I felt that no one pays attention to me. Right? So many years that no one listens to me. Right? So many years where someone thinks that you're insignificant. You know? And so those old wounds of shame started coming up. And that's why for the next couple of hours I was like just thinking about all of these things, you know? And so the next morning, I was like, no, this can't be. And so when I spent time with God, I just prayed into it, prayed over it, and I was fine. You know, it went fine from there. But the reason why I use this example is that, you know, the pain that we suffer from the past, it doesn't just go away. Right? It's a work in progress. It's almost like there's layers and layers of healing that needs to happen. And it took a stressful situation like that to remind me that I still suffer from some of the wounds of shame. And so even though I'm increasingly getting more free, I'm not fully free yet. Right? And so your pain is so linked to your lack of freedom, friends. So let's stop blaming everyone else, because later on in the story, what does Cain do? Instead of addressing the problem in his heart, instead of the energy going inwards to try and get himself healed, the energy goes outwards to try and kill and destroy his brother. See, because we're made of energy, we can use energy when we direct it inwards one of two ways. We can either use it to numb our pain, or we can use it to heal our pain. And numbing of pain it's just a temporary solution. But we all do it all the time. You know, any form of numbing, whether it's an addiction to food or chocolate or video games, or addiction to sex, or addiction to whatever the case is, it's just a numbing of your pain. You know, and it's that's enabling you to be truly free. And so even before you're going to love someone else, man, there's just some stuff going on in here that is really inhibiting your freedom, and you can't actually move forward. And so you are only ever truly free when your pain is healed. You are only ever truly free when your pain is healed. Otherwise, you're going to do exactly what Paul is going to say here. You're going to keep satisfying your sinful nature because of those bad choices that continue. Now sin has got you. And then it's this vicious cycle. You know, it's like being on Temu, guys. Temu. So I don't have a Temu app, but I remember last year I was looking for discounted Christmas trees, right? And so the first time I went to the Temu website and it directed me to the app. But the thing about Temu is when you first sign on is that now you get to spin this wheel. Right? And then you spin the wheel and you get 500 Rand free of stuff, right? And so, but here's the catch. You have like, how many minutes? I don't know, 15, 20 minutes to choose your free stuff, right? And so you spend the next 15 to 20 minutes, okay, I'm getting free stuff. And so you're like choosing and you find something you like it, but you think, oh, maybe there's something better. And then you highlight that and then you keep on scrolling and before you know it, the 20 minutes is up and you've lost the free stuff, you know? If you don't deal with your pain, right, in a healthy way, but you keep just numbing it, you keep on making those bad choices, it continues to grow, and before you know it, you're just doing something from one to the next, and you're not actually able to get to the root of the matter. And this is where we get enslaved, you know, we're just not free, and all it takes is something to happen to show that we're actually still not very free yet. And then he carries on, right, in verse 14. And then he says this, for everything we know about God's word is summed up in a single sentence: love others as you love yourself. Love others as you love yourself. Man, I want to tell you that you can't love others if you hate yourself. You just can't. Let's sink in for a while. You can't love others if you hate yourself. You know, I mentioned examples of an addict. Let's take a sex addict, for example. You know, someone who just, I mean, one of my clients I had with Life SA, he, first of all, his dad ran away when he was about 4, so he experienced a deep rejection and abandonment. Then when he was 6, he was raped by his aunt. But this was not just once, this carried on. And so what happens is that in his teenage years, he just goes on sleeping around from one woman to the next, right? Including the housemates, the house domestics. And he's admittedly a sex addict, and this continued even to his married life. Even as he got married, he continued sleeping with other women. And so, you know, just talking with him, he's beginning to realize that what happened to him in his childhood, first of all, his father walking away from him, and then his aunt showing that you are nothing. I don't care who you are. I'm just going to violate you. What that does is you start losing a sense of respect for your body, and so that means your body is now a gift for everyone. Right? You can't love others if you hate yourself. And that's why the scriptures keep on saying, love one another as you love yourself. So freedom, first of all, starts with how you relate to yourself. If you see yourself as a valuable child of God, someone important enough for God himself to come and give himself up for, then you're going to start to remedy some of the pain inside of you, right? Then you're not going to settle for less. And that's what I want to say to you today is don't settle for less. Because you were created for so much more than this. You were created for glory, literally. You were created to share in God's glory. You were created to live and run and be free and to enjoy loving other people. That's what we're created for. But when we continue to use the freedom that we have as a Christian to keep satisfying our sinful nature, God is trying to show us, like he's showing to Cain, hey man, pay attention to what is in there. Because if you keep repeating these bad choices, it's going to lead to your destruction. And then we see later on what happens to Cain, right? And his descendants. In fact, Cain's descendants becomes the one who creates wars, and they create weapons for warfare and stuff. And so now when you start hating yourself, you start hating on others as well. So this is for me is where the true heart of freedom is. As Paul says in the scriptures, you are being transformed from one degree of glory to the next. It means that applies to every single aspect of who you are as a Christian, including of freedom. It should be from one degree of glory to the next. It should be that when things keep repeating themselves, with every single time you're able to handle it better and better and better, so that it does not continue to hound you and enslave you. What happens in a moment, in an instant, for so many of us, for days on end, it can just continue to plague us. But for so many of us, what happened years ago, even decades ago, till today, we're not free of. Because, like Cain, we've decided to not pay attention to the spotlight that God is highlighting inside our own hearts. And so we choose to just put the spotlight on other things because we feel like if we just ignore it long enough, it's just going to go away. But it's not going to go away because our soul is eternal. Right? Our soul is eternal. That means it's going to remain there and it's going to continue to haunt and plague you unless you choose to do something about it. And that's why this is true freedom, right? Is the choice to act, the choice to get help, the choice to heal, because then you will be truly free. Then you can enjoy the freedom that was won for you. I mean, if you look at, so many of us in South Africa, I mean, in 1994, in a sense, we got freedom. We just celebrated Freedom Day on April 27th because now everyone's free to vote. But do you think that everyone is living free? No, they're not, right? It's the same as like what Christ did for us. On the cross, He has set us free, right? That you now have within you the ability and capacity to face your brokenness head on, right? And to be able to deal with it so that you can move on. But we don't live free, we still live enslaved. And I believe it really breaks the heart of God when He sees that. So the choice is ours. Like I said 2 weeks ago, God is a God of love, and He's always pouring out love towards us. You might not recognize it. It might not come in the way you want it. But for example, He's put people in your life who want to care for you, want to help you, who want to walk with you. But if you keep on saying, no, I've got my own ways of dealing with stuff, once again, it's that individual thing, right? Your freedom is so tied to your relationship with others, friends. It's so tied to how you relate to other people. Because only when you're able to love others well, then you start to know that, now I'm beginning to get free. Because like we said a couple of weeks ago, true freedom is when you stop counting. Right? You stop counting because you're able to see yourself the way God sees you. So maybe today the Holy Spirit is wanting to put a spotlight on what unaddressed pain do you have that you've not dealt with. Maybe you can't even see it. What has been taken away from you in the past? Is it your dignity? Is it your value as a human being? Is it a person? Whatever it is it a job? Is it a parent? Whatever it is, if we never go on that journey of healing, what happens is we're always going to use the energy that we have to try and numb that pain in so many different ways. And you'll find yourself increasingly frustrated because none of it works. None of it works. You find that you just go from one thing to the next, feel like if only my life was a little bit better, right? If you're a single person, if only I had a partner, if only I had a girlfriend or a boyfriend. If you're unemployed, if only I had a job, or if only I got a raise, or if only I had a house. And it's this constant search all the time for things that's going to numb your pain, that's going to make you feel better about yourself, to the point where you even struggle to receive love from God because you think, I'm not worthy of that. Like I said a few weeks ago. You see, every message in this series are all tied to one another. And so God wants us to live free. He doesn't have to set us free. He's already done that. Yeah? He did that 2,000 years ago. When you said yes to Jesus, He's already set you free. You are free. But like the Israelites, they didn't know how to live free. So they ended up wandering around the desert. What should have taken them just a week or two took them 40 years. Because that's a picture of the life we live when we don't know how to live free. It's just going around in circles. In fact, I'd say it's a spiral downwards. It's not just going around in circles around the same area, it's like a spiral downwards. So I don't need to say much more today, but I want to urge you to take your soul seriously. It was valuable enough for Jesus to come and purchase it by His own blood. Take it seriously. It's the most beautiful and precious thing you have. Don't keep delaying. Don't keep saying, next time or next week or when things are better. The time is now to act. The scriptures say, today, if you hear His voice, do not shut your ears to it. He's always, the way He spoke to Cain, He's always speaking to us all the time. He's so gentle, But sometimes when His gentleness we keep ignoring, sometimes something a little bit more drastic has to happen. Then you're like, oh my goodness. But then you just kind of ignore it, and by next week you're like, oh, okay, I'm just going to move on. But you're not okay. And Jesus loves you enough. He's a good shepherd who heals the brokenhearted. That's what He said He came to do, right? To heal the brokenhearted, to set the captives free, those who have been enslaved, to set them free. I don't know about you, but I'm enjoying this journey with God over the last few years, even though it's painful. Of course it's painful, man. Of course it's painful, but you know that if something is lodged in your body, it's causing you pain, it has to be removed. Because if it's not removed, it will continue to kill you, right? So even that heart surgery that God has to do is painful. You know it is. Those of you who've been liberated from some addictions, you know it. It's painful at the time, but like the scriptures say, that over time it yields the fruit of righteousness. That's what it says in Hebrews, right? And so God is really not going to force it upon you. He's giving you a choice like He did to Cain. I've set before you life and death, like He said to Israel. Choose life. I believe that's a choice that every Christian has. Every morning when you wake up, I set before you life and death. Choose life, God says, because He knows that our propensity is not to choose life. Even though it's obvious, I'm always going to choose a path that's going to lead to death. That's why the scriptures say there is a way that seems right to man, but at the end it leads to destruction. Wow, I just want us to be free. I just want us to be free and take the hand that God is offering you. Pray about how you need to get help and take action on it. Don't keep delaying it, because you're going to live in sadness and in being enslaved just for the rest of your life. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. God has something so much better for you. God has a path that is so much more joyful and free and peaceful for you. Just let it in today. Let those continual broken choices to keep numbing your pain, let it in today. Rather choose to use your energy towards healing and not numbing your pain. Because guess what? Your enemy is having a field day. And right, he'll keep on finding ways to keep prodding at your wound. He'll keep on finding ways to keep inserting his dirty paws into it and just keep digging up the wound. He loves that. He wants you to be in a place where you're like, I'm fine, I'm just going to manage. He's like, yeah, that's great, please keep walking that path. And it's like those cartoons you watch, the old cartoons where you got the devil on one shoulder and the angel on the other shoulder. God is saying, I want you to be free, I want you to walk in freedom and healing. And saying, it's like, no, just keep doing what you're doing, man. You're going to be fine. Who are you going to listen to? Who are you going to listen to? You've been set free now. Live free. The choice is yours today. The choice is yours today, friends. Let me pray for us.